All right, so in this lesson, I want to teach you the most fundamental first piano lesson that you can have. And I think if you're someone who's wanted to learn piano, but you're just overwhelmed by it, or you've been trying to learn piano and you're still confused, hopefully this lesson can unlock some things for you, because this is, to me, is the most fundamental lesson you can learn to start piano. So the first thing we have to do with the piano is when we look around, we see so many notes and it looks confusing, we just don't get it. What we have to understand about the piano is even though there's 88 keys on a full-size piano, right? Not all keyboards have 88 because you can get them a smaller size, but there's 88. There's only 12 different notes you can actually have on the piano. And the easiest way to find them is through the groups of 2 black keys and 3 black keys. So if you look around your piano, ignore that very first one. We'll get into that in a second. It's literally just a group of 3. And because the piano doesn't keep going lower, it's the last one of the group of 3. So that's all that is, but ignore that. And you'll see the pattern goes 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, and so on until you get to the end of the piano. Right? And now all the notes you need to learn on the piano just exist within one group of 2 and one group of 3. There's 12 distinct pitches on the piano, 7 white keys. So if we started a group of 2 right before, right here, all the way, including the black keys, all the way until we get to the last white key after the 3 black ones, there's all 12 notes on the piano. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 7 white ones and 5 black ones. And it's the same everywhere you go. When you move from left to right on the piano, you're just going from the lowest possible notes to the highest. The piano is organized from low to high, going left to right. So here's a group of 12, right? And then here's the same exact notes, just 1 octave higher. And then same thing here, it just keeps going higher. So you can hear it's the exact same notes. So now all we have to do to name these notes is we use the letters of the English alphabet, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, a lot of times when we're learning the notes, we don't start with the letter A. It's not because the A is not the first letter, it's just because the piano is pitched in the key of C. And that was kind of like a lesson for later, don't worry about that. But it's also just easier to recognize the note C. So the easiest way to find C is you look for the 2 black notes, and then C is always right before the 2 black notes. So there's C, 2 black notes, C, 2 black notes, C, 2 black notes, and so on. And if you play 2 C's together, wow, they sound good together because they're the same note, just a lower version and a higher version. And then as you move up on the piano, that's going to the right, you just go in alphabetical order. So then your next note is D. We're going to skip the black keys for now. We'll name those at the end because they're just named after the first 7 letters. So this one is C. So as you move to the right, you're just going up 1 in the alphabet. There's D. We find D in between the 2 black keys always. D, 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 and so on. So you got 2 Ds together, and they sound good together. We move up 1 more. There's E. So E comes after the 2 black ones. E, 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 and so on. And now we only got 4 more letters to learn. So there's C, D, and E. So now the next, we get to F. Comes before the 3 black ones. I like to say F is in front of the 3 black ones. That's how I remember F. F, F, 2 F's together, and they sound good together. After F is G. So G, we look inside the 3 black notes. It's after the first of the 3 black notes right there next to F. There's G, G, G. And then when we go after G, this is the most confusing part about the piano, but you'll get used to it. After G comes A, because the alphabet just keeps cycling over and over in the piano. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and so on. So after G is A, so A's right here in between the 3, but after the middle of the 3, there's A, and there's A. You can play 2 A's together, and they sound good together. And then the last letter after A is B. B, I like to think of, comes in back or behind the 3 black keys. B, B, B. And there's all your B's. And then if you go up 1 from B, you're back to C. You've cycled through the whole alphabet, and you're back at C, and then D, E, and so on. So there's all the letters on the piano. Now, you have to study these. You have to practice these. If you don't already know this, you should be able to find your notes after practicing. Like if I hit this, you should be able to say F, B, D, E, and so on. It should be that easy for you. And it really only takes maybe a few days of practicing that for a few minutes a day until you get it down. But it's such an important thing to learn. Now let's name the black keys, because I still think it's important to know what these are. We name the black keys after the letters of the white keys, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. We use words such as sharp and flat. So technically the black keys can have 2 different names. Now at this stage, it doesn't matter which one you want to call it. You have to know both. but it's the same idea. So we use the word sharp and flat. So if we're talking about this note right here next to C, you see how it's above C? Now we're not talking about up above, we're talking about to the right. That's called C sharp because it's higher, going to the right, from C. So we call this one C sharp. So this one would be called D sharp because it's to the right of D. There's no sharp for E. Now, technically, we can call notes E sharp, but it's the same note as this. But there's no black key for E because we only have 12 pitches, so that's the way it works. So no E sharp. Then we get to F. So this is F sharp. So F sharp is always right next to F. G sharp is always right next to G. And A sharp is always right next to A. So we have C sharp here, the first of the two black keys. D sharp here, the second of the two black keys. Then we have F sharp, the first of the three. G sharp, the middle of the three, and A sharp, the end of the three. And there is all 12 pitches. Now, like I said, the black keys can have two different names. Technically, almost all the notes can have two different names. We call them enharmonic. Don't worry about that. If you're just starting out, just don't even let that confuse you. Just don't worry about that. You'll learn about that in the future. But let's talk about flat. So basically, the same note that we called C sharp because it was above C, we can also call it D flat because it's lower than D. I like to think sharp. If you step on something sharp, you jump up, so it's going up. If a flat tire goes down, it gets flat, it goes lower. So that's how I like to remember sharp and flat. So this note that we called C sharp, we can also call it D flat. Now the context matters. It depends what scale you're in, what chord you're playing on, whether you would call it a C sharp or a D flat, but it makes the same sound. We're talking about the same exact note. So here's D flat. This one we would call E flat as well because it's below E. No F flat because it's the same note as E. This is going to be F sharp as we call it, or we would call it G flat because it's lower than G. A flat because it's below A. And then finally, B flat. And there's all 12 of your notes on the piano. So like I said, if you are just starting out, or maybe you've started before, but you just don't feel like you have a good foundation, that should be lesson number 1. Just get really familiar with your piano and with these letters because these are your tools. All music is based off of using these letters and using these notes, and it's the same for other instruments. Every instrument uses these exact same 12 pitches, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and then the 5 sharps, or flats as we like to call them sometimes. So that is all for this lesson, and now you know, got a better feel for the piano, low to high, right, going left to right, it just goes in order, and it's these same 12 notes copied and pasted as you go up, right, and just gets higher and higher, and so on. So, hope you enjoyed this first lesson. If you want more lessons just like this one, drop a comment below and let me know. But hopefully this gives you a good start. I have lots of great beginner courses in the link in my bio. You can find those anytime if you are looking for step-by-step online piano lessons.